And good evening, Likutey Moharan, Terech of Base. We are holding Sif Tes. Actually, yeah, Sif Tes, Sif Yud. She's holding a Sif Yud. We're holding a Sif Yud. So, to recap, again, what it is that we're dealing with, we said that Kadosh Baruch Hu is in touch with the tzaddikim at all times, and he confers with them. What he confers with them about is what is the state of affairs with the Jewish people. Well, the Jewish people are the reason why Hashem Yisbarach created the world. That's the name of the game. Now, when the Jewish people do not behave up to snuff, that automatically generates judgments. You know, it is that judgments create a conundrum, as it were, for Kadosh Baruch Hu. In a sense, on one hand, there has to be free choice, obviously, because otherwise, the whole thing is an exercise, in nothingness. Without free choice, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is serving himself by himself. So a person needs to have choice. On the other hand, there must be consequences. There cannot be a situation where Kadosh Baruch Hu, a Jew does something, that is not commensurate with the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and there are no consequences to it. It would be very easy, quote unquote, to defer consequences to Olam Haba, which obviously Olam Haba has, the major consequences. But the idea is that it's not just, okay, let's see how high you're going to jump. And if you jump high enough, you get the herring. This is not what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing with Am Yisrael. The thing is that Am Yisrael is working very hard in order to get close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the reason why Am Yisrael has to work very hard to get to Kadosh Baruch Hu, because the goodness of Kadosh Baruch Hu, which means Kadosh Baruch Hu himself, is so immense, and the goodness is so endless, that it requires totally unbelievable amount of work just to create the receptacles, the kalim, with which to contain and to receive the Tov of HaKadosh Baruch Hu without being annihilated. I mean, if you take someone, just b'derech mashal, if you take someone and you drop a winning lottery ticket in their hands, Okay. And this is a guy that maybe he's working, maybe he's not working, maybe he has a little here, maybe he has a little, maybe he doesn't, whatever. Uh, and basically, the reason why he buys a lottery ticket is in order to escape to a world of a dream. I'm going to buy the lottery. You probably heard people ask, if you're going to win the lottery, what are you going to do with the money? There are a lot of jokes about that. Why? Because as the advertising for the New York Lottery used to be, all you need is $1 and a dream, right? It's all about a dream. Now, what happens when somebody wins a dream? Very, very few, very, very few. In America, they do something quite smart. Whereas let's say you win $100 million. What they do is they don't give you $100 million. They take that money and they invest it for you and divide it into 20 portions that they give you, one each year. A lot of people feel like, hey, what's the big deal? You know, I want $100 million. Why are you giving me $5 million a year? You know, it's over 20 years. I mean, like, what can I do with $5 million? Well, the answer is, when you win a lottery, obviously, you have a slew of relatives that you didn't know anything about coming out of the woodwork. Everybody and his uncle hear about the fact that you won the lottery. You won the lottery, you know me. Yeah, you're not going to take care. I mean, I'm your best friend. I mean, we're like, you know, just like this. We're yay close, you know, from. And the thing is that the first year of after winning the lottery, everybody comes, everybody gets their share, everybody presses you to the wall. You don't even know how to say no. You don't know how to say no. You don't know how do you behave? I mean, what's good? I'm going to have $100,000 to this guy. What's the big deal? And I have $100 million. I have $100,000 to this guy. What's the big deal? It's my aunt. It's my cousin. It's my this. It's my that. Like? The answer is that actually the lotto is doing him a service by just giving him $5 million out of the 100. You know, because during the first year, what chances are he's going to come out of that first year penniless. The second year is already going to have a little bit of an equilibrium between what he's giving out and what he's keeping, whatever it is, and slowly, the idea is that he's building tools which enable him to actually handle money. If you were to get the $100 million in one shot, forget about it. He'd be dead. Literally, or spiritually, or whatever. Why? Because he doesn't have the cable. This is just $100 million, which is only money in this world. the schar that you get for wearing tzitzis that you don't even think about. Because maybe you go to sleep with the tzitzis, you wake up with the tzitzis, you don't even bother, putting it on. You just wear it, you make sure you wear your pants, the tzitzis is hanging out, that's all. You go to shul, you make a bracha on your talus, and you cover it tzitzis also. The schar that you get for tzitzis for one day that you don't even put your mind to it is beyond all the riches of this world throughout history put together. You cannot come to so you need kelim. You need kelim with which to hold the light. So the whole give and take in this world is about building kelim, another kelim, another kelim, another kelim, another vessel, another container for the eternal light. So in order to do this, Am Yisrael have to basically, they have to have free choice in which they sway away from the Mechovan, from the Ratzon Kodesh Baruch Hu. There has to be consequences, and then they come back. And that going away and coming back, and this is the thing that is building the Kelim. You can't become proficient at anything without failure, and you can't be proficient in anything without success. In the more successful that you're going to be, you need to succeed and to fail, and to succeed and to fail, and to succeed and to fail. And every time you go through this, and the thing is that it's not just you succeed and you fail. You can't succeed and fail unless you want to continue succeeding. There's a drive that drives you to success, and you fail, and you get up, and that failure prepares the keli for your next success. So this kind of consequences, giving you the leeway and having the consequences is a must. Now, it's very easy, for the chisonim, which is the koyches atuma that exists in this world, to hijack the judgments, the consequences, and take him to a place that is the opposite of what the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants for you. The judgments that the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants for you is the judgments that will lead you closer to him, not away from him. Cruel judgments are judgments that lead you away from the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So the tzaddikim are the ones with which a Kodesh Baruch Hu confers and sort of like provides the delicate balance of judgment and admonition, and rachamim. So their job is, to mitigate the harsh judgments, to sweeten them, and let Am Yisrael know that they goofed, and bring them closer. And that whole process has to be sealed to make sure that the koyches atuma do not hijack the judgments and carry a whole bedlam out of the whole thing. That's the basis of this thing. Now, to get there, to receive that kind of morals and admonishment and encouragement and fair warnings from the tzaddikim, you have to go through a whole series of steps, really, to be able to receive their message, and therefore connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu properly. So to get to that, to get chosem atachten, this is raglan, that concealment, the tzaddikim conceal the judgment. And you have to come with an emunah, with a strong, total emunah in the tzaddikim, and in what they say, in their message. And the idea is that the more fine-tuned your emunah in tzaddikim is, the more you'll be able to get what they're saying. The more heightened and sensitized your emunah in tzaddikim is, the more they will be able to tell you, the more they'll be able to get into details in what they tell you, and to direct you and get you that much closer to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Basically, you have a basic emunah. I believe that my Rebbe is a tzaddik, and whatever he says, goes, and he knows. And what does it actually mean? I don't know, but okay, I believe Baruch Hashem. I believe my Rebbe is a tzaddik, and he's saying all kinds of things, and so what does it mean to me? I'm saying, I'm one of his people, and I toe the line, and I go to shul, and I daven, and learn Torah, it's a gewaldige Zach. But this is a very superficial level. I mean, it's a gewalt. I mean, it's Gan Eden, it's Olam Haba, but it's still very superficial. This is what the Yeshayahu, the Novi says, and the land should be filled with knowledge like water that covered the sea. So, what do you mean water that covered the sea? When he speaks about this, I mean, the sea is water. What do you mean water covered the sea? So the thing, so he says that the water that covered the sea means that on the surface, the sea is flat, basically. Water is flat, and there's no terrain, obviously, in water. Everything is just basically flat. Forget about the waves for a minute. Now, however, in the depth, there are major differences. You have from the beach that little toddlers can sit, building sandcastles, all the way to depths that you could take Mount Everest, if you could take it out of its place, you could sink 2 or 3 Mount Everests, one on top of the other, and still they won't fill that depth in the ocean. They have these kind of creatures that live over there, just like they have these lights hanging out from them. It's just these kind of monsters that or whatever, tremendously deep. So in other words, the surface, everybody's equal, but the depth, there's very close, and then there's deep, and then there's deep shabbat deep. So he says, Malach, that's Hashem, and the land will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, the way that the water covered the sea. In other words, on the surface, everybody knows this. But when you get deeper into it, that's a different matter. Everyone, according to how much he invests in it, this is how deep his knowledge is, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is endless. So, in order to be able to receive deeper directions from the Tzadikei Ador, you need to acquire emunah amitis. Emunah, I mean, not just basic emunah, which is obviously the beginning of everything, but the emunah in the tzaddikim themselves, and their madrega, and their kedusha, that every single word they say, or they don't say, or the tone of voice, or the way they look at you, has its own message, the more they'll be able to tell you what you need to do and to hint to you that it is which you need to do in order to achieve your potential. The more they can get to you and actually emphasize to you that the value of what it is that you're doing. One of the lines of the Shir Yedidus that Anas saying about Rabbeinu, he says that one of the finest achievements that the tzaddik that Rabbeinu is able to do, is able to perform, is he's able to give us the feeling and the realization that the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants us just the way we are. It's not that he wants us to continue to be the way we are, but that he wants us the way we are, and he wants us to get better and to advance. This requires emunah. That kind of emunah can only get from Tzadikei Ador. These Tzadikei Ador, the true Tzadikei Ador, they're the ones who, Rabbeinu says in Torah Lamed Daled, they're the one who have the dominion over the world. They control everything. When we learned Daf Yomi, right? Mesechus Tainis, Rabbi Chabina ben Dosa, he says, whoever said to, that the oil that should burn, the vinegar should burn, that a neighbor came and said she's building a home, but they cut the beams too short and they don't reach the walls. So he says, okay, so let the beams be longer, and they became longer. But, there's an argument in the Gemara if it became 2 amas from every side of the house, or they were just added into the walls, or just one. This whole Rabbi Chanan ben Dosa is just it's just full of miracles. The deeper you believe in the tzaddikim is now the thing is that those tzaddikim are not evident, as we learn in Sichos Haran. And there's a Torah in Likutey Moharan Chelek Beis towards the end. And Rabbeinu says that you can tell the difference between a true tzaddik and a great tzaddik and a so-so tzaddik. And he says that, people expect that a tzaddik will look the part. He will look like, wow, man, just check him out. And then he says, no, tzaddikim look like everybody else. And he says, Eretz Yisrael looks like any other land. He says that people, that tzaddikim came to Eretz Yisrael, they couldn't possibly, they couldn't put, knowing what the mile of Eretz Yisrael is, they couldn't possibly, get into their minds that Eretz Yisrael is b'chal in this world. That there's sand in Eretz Yisrael, that the sky is in Eretz Yisrael, there's water in Eretz Yisrael, and it looks the same like water everywhere else. Yet, it is something completely different. The sand looks like sand from everywhere, but it's totally different. The sky looks like everywhere. This Rabbeinu says, Likutey Moharan. The sky is the same everywhere, but it looks totally different. The same thing goes for every single thing, and that's the show. The same thing goes for Elohim. They look like everybody else, but they're something else completely. People have a lot of respect for them. They have emunah for them. They give them money, So there are all kinds of people that convince themselves that either they convince themselves, I don't believe that they are. Maybe some are, I don't know. That's cynical, just to play, maybe cult leaders that do that, but Rabbanim, serious Rabbanim, that they know the Madrega, they know that they're learned, they know the Talmidei Chacham, they know that they're tzaddikim, they know that they are tzaddikim. And here they are, that people are ignoring them and looking for quote unquote, for tzaddik ador, the shiva roim. So he says, what do you mean shiva roim? What do you mean tzaddik ador? Come to me. I'm sorry, what am I, chopped liver? I mean, take a look at me. I'm a Rebbe, my father's a Rebbe, my uncle is a Rebbe, my grandfather's a Rebbe, my shver is a Rebbe, whatever it is, myself, I'm a tzaddik, and they are. I'm not saying that chas v'chalila they are. I mean, there are those that but Rabbeinu says that there's an azus sponim over there, there's boldness over there. That, what do you mean you're going to somebody else? You come to me. And they mean it. It's not like they say, I know that the other guy is a bigger tzaddik and he can help people and I can't, but I gotta take care of business and whatever it is. They don't think like that. Chas v'chalila. They believe that that's the truth. Wherever I represent, that's the truth. I spoke with a person like this, and he's a zisa guy. He's sweet, sweet. He's a rabbi for sure, and his father is a rebbe, and he is a sweetheart. I'm telling you, he's a sweetheart. He's a talmid chacham, and he's a tzaddik, and he's charming, and he's humble, whatever you want. And when we're talking about, I was asking him, he loves Likutey Moharan. He's everything is in fact, I learned Likutey Moharan with him a little bit. But I said, something, learn Likutey, Likutey Tfilis. Say Likutey Tfilis. I couldn't get him to say it. Why not? You're such an El Chayid. And I'm saying he's really an El Chayid. You're such an El Chayid. You know what it's about. You learn Likutey Moharan. What is Likutey Tfilis? Likutey Tfilis is Likutey Moharan put into action. No, he couldn't say that. He could not do that. And one time we had a conversation about this. He didn't put the two and two together. He says, I cannot say Likutey Tfilis because of that. He can give all kinds of excuses why he's not saying Likutey Tfilis. But Lamaisa, he says that the major problem that he has with Breslov is that, he's actually he stems from a whole lineage of tzaddikim. I'm not saying it facetiously. He stems from a lineage of tzaddikim. And himself is a tzaddik. Basically, what he says, but what about my father? What about my grandfather? What about my great-grandfather? What that chopped liver? What everything they did is nothing, is worth nothing. Which means that at a certain point in time, the Likutey Tfilis dafka, not Likutey Moharan, Likutey Tfilis represented a barrier that he could not cross, because crossing it would somehow delegitimize his father, his grandfather, the whole lineage. And I remember I said to him, what are you talking about? There were two tzaddikim. Your parents, your ancestors were real tzaddikim. What's the problem? Because in Likutey Tfilis, there's a realness. There's a realness that punctures a certain kind of make-believe that even true tzaddikim can be afflicted with. There's a barrier that you have to cross, and that barrier is closing off the way of a yid from getting to the tzaddikei amitim, the roya dor, the true shepherds of generation. Get from them the kind of emunah that you need in order to hear Hashem's message loud and clear. Do what you need to do in this world, which is to go forever higher. These are called Azei Ponim Shabador. It doesn't matter that they are tzaddikim. They are tzaddikim. They are Talmidei Chachamim, vadai. Great men, great people. And I'm serious, great people. If you learn the Maisen, from the burger and the pauper in Sipurei Maisis, you see the pauper became to a level that he was the emperor of the entire world, and they gave him a certificate of appointment. It's written with golden letters, Rabbeinu writes. What does it mean? It means that he was the tzaddik ador. He was the tzaddik ador. He got a letter of appointment. Vayeshev Shlomo al Pisa Hashem Shloshim Shana. And King Solomon sent on the throne of Hashem for 30 years. And he's the one who was trying to kill Mashiach. Tzaddik Ador is the one who was trying to kill Mashiach. And in order to overcome, you're standing, there's a tzaddik in your way. There's a tzaddik standing in your way to get to the kind of emunah that you need to get to Roy Ador. You need an immense amount of azus, of boldness, the kedusha, in order to cross that barrier. So I know that you're a tzaddik. I know that you're a Talmid Chacham. I know that you're a great Jew. But I'm looking for something that is a totally different madrega. What do you mean? What do you mean totally different madrega? Who the heck do you think you are? Look at the way you daven. Look at the way you learn. Look at what you bring to the table. Since when did you become a maven in tzaddikim? He just says, no, I want something bigger. I need whatever. You're right. You need Azus the Kedusha. You need Azus the Kedusha to overcome the Azeponim Shabador. But the Azeponim Shabador, the bold face, the in the generation, they block your way to be Makabel the Emunah, is not just outside of you, it's also inside you. Because you have the same kind of message that you can get from the Roya Emunah from your own neshama. Your own neshama is trying to tell you everything that it attains, the Kedusha, all the time. It needs to tell you that. Your body needs to hear it, because the neshama needs you and you need your neshama. Most people live totally divorced from the neshama. They live in their body. The body includes the nefesh, includes the ruach, includes the. But what about the neshama? Okay, selling, go to shul. I'm terrible, Hashem. What else do you want from me? What will you have me do? Jump off the roof? And we learned that the way to overcome the boldness of your own body and the boldness of those who are blocking your way to tzaddikim is through koilos de kedusha, sounds because these are azos de kedusha. They're the one who gets you there. It starts with a sigh, it continues with singing, it continues with crying out, it continues with shofar, it continues with collecting tzedakah. The sound that the pennies make in your hand as you go around in the shul, in your shakel. There's an azos in it. There's just, hey, you're busy davening, you think you're davening, hey, I'm collecting money. I remember many years ago in Borough Park, there was a very sweet Moharan Jew. He was in his 80s. And he would go around collecting money for his, he had chashuva children and in-laws, son-in-laws sitting and learning. There you have a guy over 80 years old going around collecting money. The money was collecting. He was giving them money, stipends so they could sit down and learn. He wasn't Zaycha. He was going around the money. He was a very simple Jew. A stocky, heavyset guy, and he would go with this big beard. And how shall I put it? He wasn't fine-tuned on the Western finesse of manners, let's put it this way, okay? And I'll never forget him coming, and there was, he went in the shul, he was collecting money, tzedakah, 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 tzedakah. And he came next to a guy, a skinny guy, that was probably in too much pain himself to pay attention to anybody else. And he didn't give him, and not only didn't give him, he did what people, he wouldn't hurt him. Like I said, he did what people who don't want to give, many times, he just didn't look at him. Just basically just made himself as if he didn't see the guy. Now, as I said before, the guy was not the king of etiquette. He didn't go to girls' finishing school in Switzerland or anything. So he's going out to the guy's just not looking at him, and is making believe as if he doesn't hear him, doesn't see him. The guy just stops. This Moharan guy just stops next to him. I mean, I don't believe anybody noticed that. I took a look. For some reason I looked at it and I saw it, and he looks at him. And he stops and he said, tzedakah, tzedakah. The guy doesn't move. The guy doesn't just makes believe he doesn't see him. So he looks at him with this pitying look. He gives this look. And he tells him, Olam haba? Olam haba? Abu bu 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 olam haba. You're gonna have olam haba. Abu bu 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 olam haba. I'll never forget it. Pashut, simple amuna. You don't live in touch with your neshama. What do you want? Olam haba. Okay, listen, I don't want to carry this too far. I mean, obviously the other guy wasn't in pain and probably caught him a bad day, whatever it is. And He didn't embarrass him in front of everybody. Nobody paid attention, whatever it is. I happen to have looked, whatever it is. It's just so charming. And the look that he gave him was so like, what do you think? You doing me a favor? I'm doing you a favor. You got it all wrong. I'll never forget this kind of this look that he gave him. It's like this. What's wrong with you? Oh, I'm about what you're nuts. No. Bekitzer, you need to have this kind of Azaz the Kedusha. The Azaz Kedusha you get through the Koilos. And Rabbeinu says that the way that you get to the Azaz the Kedusha is through Simcha. Simcha is through Nasav and Nishma. This is where we are holding here. Nasav and Nishma is the process that drives the whole train from this stubborn, obtuse, coarse, unsensitive, gashmius body and shkafa and whatever, to bring it all the way to here, the nuances, the admonishment of the tzaddikim that are telling you, listen, watch out, do this, do that, and do this, and do that. So that you can be in line with the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants from you. This is Nasav and Nishma. Nasav and Nishma is, this is where I am. I am in the Nasav. I am in the Torah. In Torah, so this is my Torah. This is what I need to do. This is what I'm doing. Beyond me, there's a level of Nasav that I need to conquer. I need to bring down. It's the madregas that I don't have yet. Some madregas I know about, davening with kavana, waking up, earlier in the morning, maybe daven vasikim, maybe chatzois, or whatever it is that I have. Whatever, and I start to talk about them. Some of them I already talk about. Maybe I don't do them yet, but I talk about them. So this is a P'chinas Nishma, baby. I can daven for them, I can wait, I can hope for them. And then there are those madregas that I don't even know about. They don't even occur to me. For instance, to have a machshava inside the head, or a thought in the head, and to be embarrassed by that thought before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And to feel that. And it's just, basic principle. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what you're thinking. All right, I know. We got it. No, but to feel, it's like, Lahaviv Abdullah said, I don't want to cheapen it, but whatever it is, it's like, you were going to be embarrassed if people were to see what I'm thinking about. If people were able to see what I'm thinking about, I die from shame. I'll be so embarrassed, I wouldn't know what to bury myself. Seriously. And it has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with age. Nobody's immune. To get to a point where you're embarrassed to think that, or you're afraid to think that, is a nishma, is a level that you want to get to. The way you get to it is with voices. You cry to Kadosh Baruch Hu. You say Tehillim. You kvetch. You sigh. You groan. You wish for. You scream for it in your mind. In your mind. And it's the same thing that I've been saying over and over and over again. Now, probably we keep on saying it. There is a way to cry out in your mind when not only that you don't want to go to the next level, you don't even want to get to the next level. But you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You have a tzaddik that sits on you, that is working the energy within you. So, yo, man, there is an end to this world. There is Olam Haba. And Zat Hashem later, it's coming. Even if you live 1,000 years, it is coming. And nobody's getting away with anything. I really don't want. Leave me alone. Me, between me and myself, I don't want, not that I don't want it, I don't even want to want it. It could be waking up in the morning, it's an example I give a lot, sometimes, you want to keep on sleeping. What is it to wake up for? What is it to wake up to? To feeling like I'm a no goodnik? To feel like a failure again? That's what it is to wake up. I don't want to. I want to continue sleeping. And the only thing you can do, if you were to ask Kadosh Baruch Hu in your mind, please help me get out of bed, you will get out of bed, and you don't want to do it. No, so what are you going to do? You lift up your eyes with the eyes closed to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and you go, in other words, this is what we said. Yirmiyahu says, Im avonoseinu onu banu. We cannot even hear the voice of the Mashiach, the Kedusha. Hashem asad leman shmecha. Do it for yourself. Do it for you. Do it for your sake. This is also kolos the Kedusha. What's called the Kedusha? You're not saying anything. You're not even thinking anything. Yeah, but you're hoping. You're hoping. No. The Medrash says, Im en lach el v'zeh kaveh Hashem chazak v'yametzel v'kaveh Hashem, Im en lach el aschar kivui, I shall deliver you. The only schar you have is because you hoped. Hashem says, I will deliver you. It's such a fine, subtle nakuda of avodas Hashem, that unless you're mekurav to the tzaddik emes, you're not even in the business of doing this. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, tzaddikim gdolim are there. This is what they say that Shulchan Aruch starts, Shivisi Hashem, Lenegdi Somil, Mailo, the Malak gdolim, Malas tzaddikim. So the Ibn Ezra says, there's a secret in this. The Ramban says, what the secret is, Malos Tzadikim. He says that Shivis Hashem, you tell me, is not just something that Tzadikim do. But it is a Dova Godel Malos Tzadikim. In other words, that's the thing that tell you the Mal of the Tzadikim. There's a difference between the Tzadikim. The what? How much is a Shivis Hashem Negdisam? How much do you live with the Kodesh Baruch Hu in your life? One tzaddik can be 2 hours, the other one 10 hours, the one 12 hours. Each one is bigger. The tzaddik is 24 hours. There's nothing else, just a Kodesh Baruch Hu. 24 hours. And in that 24 hours is Madrega, Ma'al Madrega, Ma'al Madrega, Ma'al Madrega. You live with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. You can only do this with the koyach of the tzaddik. Hashem is Moachon. To get there, listen, we start and we fail, and we start and we fail. Every business, every entrepreneur has to go through this. You start and you fail, and you start and you fail. And they say, as they say, the biggest difference between, or the difference between somebody who is a success and somebody who is a failure, is that somebody who is a success has failed more times. Because the failure, the minute he fails, he loses faith and he goes away. Somebody that's success is somebody that never stops trying, never stops working on it. That's why you succeed, because it's only a question of time. You stick with it and you succeed. Hashem shall help us with that Hashem. Tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, we're learning in the Beis Medrash on Lachish, and we're going to be learning Torah Lamed. What's a shkoyach to everyone that came tonight. Years I have here like hundreds of people in front of me. It's like, wow, be mitzvah with everything that you do.